up, everybody? You know who it is. It is your allies behind enemy lines, Ryan and Joey, coming at you thoroughly behind enemy lines in Cowboys territory, holding it down for all our Washington football fans out there. If you're watching us here on YouTube, make sure you have that subscription button, that subscribe button selected, and that notification bell rung. So as soon as we drop the latest and greatest heat, you are notified and you can come watch and follow along with us. You can also find us anywhere podcasts are found: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Make sure wherever you find your podcast, again, you rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Tell a friend, tell a family member, make sure they are all informed on what's going on with our Washington football team. Joey, we are back again with another installment on this beautiful Friday. Mock draft season. We got a couple other things going along. The Alex Smith, story, our QB saga, all that good stuff. But until we get into that, how's everything going? We're getting back to normal after the snowstorm / shitstorm that we talked about on Monday. But hopefully everything is back to normal for you by now.
Everything but the chocolate milk and the eggs. That's it. That's the only thing. I went shopping this morning. As I gave it a few days, to let the stores we were fortunate enough to have gone shopping right before the whole thing, because our stores shut down. So we had plenty of food. So I give it a few days, and then I went this morning, and the store was pretty full. So I was surprised to see actually how full it was. So actually early in the morning, so it looked everything full except big giant holes in chocolate milk and eggs. We only had like the 5 where you get 5, the big box where you get 5 dozen eggs. 5 things of so it's basically what is that, 70 eggs? No, I don't need no 70 eggs, so that was the only thing I could get. But yeah, other than that, that's all. The only thing, lack of normalcy we have down here in Austin is a run on eggs and chocolate milk. How you doing?
We're doing good, man. We're back to normal. Everything's back on track. So we were fortunate with that. But so business as usual now around these parts. But getting right into it, like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll get to our mock draft. That we started on Monday. A lot of fun with that. But the biggest thing that's come out, not huge, but it is something worth mentioning, is Alex Smith did an interview with GQ magazine and pretty much just came out and said, hey, Washington didn't want me. When I told them they were coming back, when I was coming back, it was kind of like oh crap, here he goes, or here goes type of thing. And he said, it obviously doesn't feel great when you're trying to make this comeback, first just to learn how to walk again. And then, now his eyes are focused on football. And he said it was pretty much like telling me, hey, you're about to finish a marathon, and at mile 24, 25, they're saying, hey, actually, you can't finish it. He said, hell no, I'm finishing this damn thing. But obviously, he threw out a couple Ron Rivera quotes where he just felt like he wasn't wanted and that he was more of a burden when he was coming back. And to be quite frank, I think his feelings were true and correct, but I think for good reason. I don't know if Washington should have wanted him to come back from the jump. I know I didn't. I wasn't super thrilled with having him back. I've said that just as much here. I've walked that back a little bit because of how well he ended up playing for us. But rewind to the beginning of last season when he said he was going to try to make a comeback or try to play again. I was like, look, I'm all set here. I'm all good. So he can be angry. He can feel disrespected. It all worked out for everybody in the end, I feel like, for the most part. But I don't think Washington should be, the organization should be condemned for not wanting a guy that we weren't sure if he was going to be able to walk again, for not wanting him to come back to try to play quarterback for them.
I mean, yeah, you hit it exactly. You're the nail on the head. I mean, both sides can be right sometimes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not always, just because one side right doesn't automatically make the other side wrong. I think that's what a lot of people get, suckered into in situations like this. Oh, well, if, they're wrong, no, they drafted, they spent their first round pick on a quarterback. They obviously did not think he was coming back. They're already looking towards the future. And like he said in the interview, it was a new regime. They didn't know him. There wasn't a coaching staff that selected him, had anything to do. At this point, Ron Rivera is running the team. Back then when they made the trade for him, that was not the case. There was not that relationship, that foundation, that was built. If say the injury would have happened this year, and then it's 2 years from now, Ron Rivera is still the coach, I'm sure there'd be a very different feeling. Because they have that established foundation, and they do have that. But they didn't have that. You're talking, and if you don't know somebody, all you have to base it upon is how it's affecting you, and how it's affecting them is it's holding up a lot of cap space, and it's and that's basically how, which limits what you can do as you're trying to rebuild the team. So I mean, obviously, I've walked into situations where he has to understand. I mean, I think that I mean, it's knowing Alex Smith and knowing how honest and how, and a stand-up guy he is. I think a lot of this could have been kind of taken out of context. You know what I mean? I'd like to hear him
Yeah.
say these things, voice these things, personally. But I mean, I don't think. First of all, I don't think he really has to, because I get what he was saying. But anyone that goes into this situation knows that, and I'm sure he understood. I'm a big, anyone that doesn't is being very narrow-minded. You have to understand both sides of the situation. I'm sure he understood, yeah, they don't know me, and I'm just costing them a lot of money right now. So, yeah, they didn't want me around. And in my mind, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to prove that they're, that I deserve that money, and I am going to be somebody around. And I'm sure that helped in the motivation of getting to him where he was. So, I mean, I think that was 100% honesty on his part. I think that was 100%, honesty and good business decisions on Ron Rivera's part. Not to say that we don't want him around, but to be basically planning already. Or basically, when you plan around somebody, that's kind of giving them the impression that they don't want you around. And I'm sure that's what they were basically doing, is planning around. They had this big old giant hole in the middle of their living room floor that they couldn't fix right now. So what? They're just going to set the rest of the furniture around the house and do the best they can until they can fix that hole. So that's all that was. And I think a lot of people are just jumping around and, that's going to make it easy to cut Alex Smith now. Oh, he just signed his death wish with Washington now. He's going to get cut, guys, and that's basically telling me that he's not restructuring his deal. And if he doesn't restructure his deal, he's going to get cut. That's basically that's basically what it boils down to. And that's just saying that he, not puts it out there so that people that might be interested in him, Tom Coughlin, are going to be coming and getting him. And you know what, Alex? Do that. Do that. Go get more money. Go cash in somewhere else. Go be a double dipper, because he's still getting paid regardless. All that money regardless. That's an insurance policy that's covering that. So, by all means, I don't hate him on it, and I don't have any bad feelings towards him or towards Washington for thinking the way they were.
Yeah, I mean, we always say it. This is a business too, and paying a quarterback $22 million that has one leg at the time, that's not good business. When you're trying, like I said, we were at the point where we're trying to rebuild the team. Now we're trying to build upon what we've got and what we've come across, what we have molded, what we've built so far. Now it's just building on top of that. And like you said, that's just, you're the quarterback is the foundation of your franchise, and you're not going to try to build a franchise on a shaky foundation. And Alex Smith was very much so that shaky foundation. One of the most catastrophic injuries we've seen on the field, and then subsequent injuries and things that he battled throughout. It was unheard of. Like I said, I mean, the guy almost literally, we've said this, I mean, and it's known, he almost lost his leg. Like, that almost, we're going to have to say, hey, look, cut your losses. And right now your losses is going to be that leg. And so I agree with you saying that maybe it was taken out of context, but I definitely think there was a point for Alex Smith to say this. He, like you said, he wanted to put it out there to kind of know that, hey, look, if I do get cut, when I do get cut, like, this isn't the end of the road. Like, if anybody's still interested, come and get me, because I'm looking to play. Now, it's tough to say how much interest he'll really get from teams. I mean, and I don't know
not at $20 million a year. Just put it.
Yeah,
put that out there.
definitely not that. And how
it's
much
not
would be
about
for a starter?
That's a number 1 overall draft pick. He is that signed a huge deal with Kansas City, signed a huge deal with us. Money, it is not about money with Alex Smith right now. So he just wants to play football. Somebody out there is already. I guarantee it. I guarantee you, phone calls are already being made. Tampering is happening.
No doubt. But yeah, so I mean, that was my, like I said, I've given my piece on what I've thought of Alex Smith from the beginning. I wasn't super thrilled that he was going to try to come back. And then now that it worked out, hey, look, I'm super happy for the team. I'm super happy for him that it did work out that way. Like you said, I don't think either side should be condemned. I don't think either side was wrong for feeling the way they felt. And I don't think either side should be condemned for Alex Smith saying what he said, and for Washington feeling the way they did. Because like I said, it's just not smart business. It's not smart to try to build a team around a quarterback that or pay a quarterback that much for a guy that you don't even know what you're getting from him.
It falls under a tweet I put out the other day. I don't know if you saw it, but it wasn't, it ties in perfectly with this. But it's like, everybody wants honesty just like people in Texas want snow until you give it to them. Then they can't handle it. And then they can't handle it. You know what I mean? They asked him how he felt, and it was honest. You know, it's honest. And then they're like, oh, we don't want to hear this. You know, it's exactly. We're ready. Nobody wants honesty. Stop saying you want it because nobody does. We're all fat, lazy, and overweight and have bad breath. Nobody wants the fucking honest shit ever. So stop everyone crying. Woo, we want the truth. No, you don't. Let's just, have a controlled thing we have going.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my piece on that. And our thoughts on that whole situation. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out now with that. Because, I'm sure those talks were happening behind the closed doors anyway. But now that he put it to the forefront, put it out in the media for people to read and people to talk about, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because a lot of this posturing and a lot of these negotiations happen through the media, and that's why you see agents and teams leak things like JJ Watt saying today or JJ Watt's agent leaking that he was offered like $15 million to sign somewhere. He's just saying that because now he's negotiating through the media against, with all these other teams that may be calling, and teams do that in the draft, all that good stuff. So I think this will definitely play a part.
They do it every morning if you watch Good Morning Football, every guest player they have on there is doing a spiel. Is giving a spiel, like putting that out just so you know, I'm available. Like Sean McCoy, you put me on a team, they win Super Bowls.
I don't even have to touch the ball, but you'll win a Super Bowl.
Exactly. I'm a rabbit's foot. That's what he said. I'm a lucky rabbit's foot.
That's funny. But so we'll see again how that plays out and how that continues down the road, and if that changes anything with Alex Smith's future here with Washington. The next thing I wanted to touch on real quick is Washington dropped a new website, WashingtonJourney.com, where they're you can kind of follow along the journey, hence Washington Journey of them selecting a new team name, selecting a new identity. They said, obviously we retired the new name. It's funny because they don't mention Redskins anywhere. They make sure that like it's not. They just keep saying like the old name. At least I didn't see it. And they just say, hey, we retired the new name. This, follow us along, kind of learn the history of where everything's coming from and see where we go towards the future, which is going to be interesting. But it's already been said that they're going to keep Washington football team through 2021, and 2022 is when they'll select the new team name. I mean, it's so funny. It's so weird. Like Washington football team, like it's kind of like I'm like if they stuck with that, like I'd be down. Like I'd be cool with it. With everything, the numbers on the side of the helmet, everything that they've kind of turned this into, I'd be cool with. The uniforms haven't changed. I like the block lettering that says Washington across the chest. Things like that. But that we've already talked in length about what we want the team name to be. You're firmly in the Red Wolves corner. Is that still the case?
I'm almost more firmly in the Washington football team corner as it is now than that. But if not, yes, that's totally where I'd like to go.
Yeah, see, I'm. It's almost like I'm the same thing. Washington football. If they wanted to stick with that, I'm down. Like I'm in. WFT for life. But right now, for me, I'm kind of Red Wolves by default because I wanted the Washington Warriors and I wanted them to try to use the old spear logo. That's not going to happen. So I just don't know. Like I said, of the options that I've heard, Red Wolves has been the best one that I've liked.
It's almost, what it seems like though is what I've realized is like what we started liking about the Washington football team name was that we don't have to defend our team's name anymore. It's not even a thing. You know what I mean? It takes that whole thing out of being a fan. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's go-to. I mean, now, almost everyone's go-to now. Oh, you don't even have a name. That'll be like their only go-to now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that more than anything, I think that's anything that continues that we're going to be okay with. I think that we just don't like having to have to defend our name. So,
but that's the thing. Like, yeah, we don't have a name. Guess what? We're just a football team. We don't need these little fancy, mascots and team name. Oh, look how tough we are. No, we're just a football team. We're here for business. We're here to kick your ass. And Chase Young is probably going to sack your quarterback 27 times. So eat a dick. That's what I say.
Exactly. So I mean, it's cool with me. I'm down with it. It's exactly straight to the point.
Yeah.
We don't need our dressings, our colors, and our victories are our mascot. Our mascot is winning.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, if that's the biggest thing that you say is you don't have a name.
The W. Yep. The W is for winning.
Fly the W, baby. So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how. And what I was gonna say about the Red Wolves is I'd almost prefer if we were going to change the name to just the Washington Wolves, maybe just have a little alliteration there. Keep the W. I don't think we need red in there. It doesn't need to be the red tails. Doesn't, it'll be a mascot if we have one. I just hope it's if it sucks, like it's going to be brutal. Like I hope they do a good job of figuring it out of what they're going to do. Cause if not, I don't know if I can withstand that. I mean, I will, but I just hope it's not something that people are like, really?
Well, I mean, people are like, oh, that's so plain. I'm like, bears, lions, it's the same thing. It's wolves. Just one syllable, wolves.
Yeah,
giants,
exactly.
Wolves,
right? The dolphins. I mean, come on.
That's two syllables, man.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I didn't realize that you were going with syllables. I didn't realize. Oh, yes. I didn't catch that part.
You're all rhinoceros. Rhinoceri. Okay, I don't know. I don't even know that's
a thing. But the other thing too that was kind of funny is we saw, this is kind of going way back. So Jeff Bezos said he was going to be stepping down as CEO of Amazon Prime in the third quarter of the fiscal year. And so there's obviously a lot of talk that he was going to try to buy the team. And so people were saying, hey, how about the Washington Prime? Like the Amazon Prime. I thought that was hilarious. But also like the Washington Prime.
Prime time.
That's kind of a dope ass name, right? Like Washington Prime is like, I know it's a joke, but I was like, yo, that kind of like bangs. Like I'd be down for to be the Washington Prime. Are you kidding me? That does kind of sound like a WNBA team, but still, it's still kind of dope.
Yeah, it's setting a new bar, new era. I wouldn't be down. I'd be down.
Yeah. For sure. But all right, so let's get into it. Our mock draft on Monday, we did our first round draft pick of where we would go. We both picked offensive tackles, just two different offensive tackles. Funny enough, though, we were talking pre-show. Since that's happened on Monday, we've continued to read up on our mock drafts, do our own mock drafts, and we were saying like, most of the time, we're not able to get those two guys that we want. As that theme music comes in, so that's kind of changed things a little bit, right? We thought both Rashawn Slater and Christian Darrisaw were going to be there in that 19th spot. I literally right before we came on was watching the Colin Cowherd show, and he had Daniel Jeremiah on. And they had Darrisaw going in the top 5. They had him going before Penei Sewell, which I haven't seen anywhere. And but just literally on Monday, after we were done recording, Daniel Jeremiah released his mock draft and had Washington taking Darrisaw, who I had. So I don't know. It's always moving. It's always changing. Mel Kiper released his mock draft 2.0 yesterday. And he's had quite a few changes, so it's going to be fun. This is going to keep changing. Remember, we said if we want to change anything, we reserve the right to do so. It's our show, so if you don't like it, suck it. No, but
if you don't like it, comment below and tell us. You don't have to suck it, but you can.
You can do both.
You can do both.
But yeah, so we're going into our second round pick today. Obviously, 51st overall. Now, I don't know about you, but I've kind of struggled with this pick a little bit. I think a lot of it will have to do with what we do in the first round, but going based off what I've already selected in the first round for me, I think I have an idea of where we're going to go, but I want to see where you're going to go. And so I'll let you go ahead and hit lead off here again for round 2.
Well, I'm ready this time, but I'll tell you, you're exactly right with that, with the mock draft changing, the tackles, now they're thinking like, 3 or 4 tackles are going to go before 10. And it really screwed up our mock draft because I was trying to do my mock draft for the second round pick to kind of get a grasp of who's going to be out there. I could not land a tackle at number 19. It took me, like I was telling you before the show, about 7 or 8 drafts till finally one of them would slide into that spot for me to be able to get out there and get a more accurate look while taking a tackle out. So yeah, I mean, it looks like tackles, and I attribute that a lot to watching more and more film. As we know, as we said before, Darrisaw took off, this year he opted out, and so these guys are watching more and more film. I actually heard him, and now I see waddling down below Devontae Smith on a lot of boards, and that's due because he had an injury this year, and so a lot of people had the more recency effect was kicking in there and seeing Devontae Smith do all the great things. They had forgot about Waddle. And then as people are watching and looking at him more, they're saying that he's more crisp. He's more, his route running. They saw the jump that he made from his junior season to his senior season, and can just see that, probably see a probable jump like that to the NFL. So that's why you're going to see those things change. And so you never know. We might end up having Devontae Smith fall right in our laps, or Micah Parsons. So things, we have a long way to go till then. But yeah, so where do we go with this pick? It's where I wanted to go with my second, or with our first pick. We need to have that guy in the middle to control those pit bulls. We need to have that inside linebacker that's going to control those pit bulls. Like we said before, we had good play. We had the second-ranked defense without it, but I still think that we can become, without this, we're not going to be able to beat the good teams. We'll be a great team. We're not going to be able to beat the fantastic teams. We might be a playoff team, but we're not going to be able to beat those, top caliber teams. And so where am I going for? And I've always been a sucker for bigger guys. I'm talking like, especially now with like the Devin White, the Tremaine Edmonds, Tremaine Edmonds over there at
Tremaine Edmonds, yeah.
Tremaine Edmonds over there at Buffalo. Those types of those bigger physical type of inside linebackers. So I'm going to go back to the Ohio State and say Baron Brown. If he falls to us, inside linebacker, 6'3", 240 pounds. Someone that fits a lot of those molds. Someone that I think that can come in and is built to play the inside. He can run in a 3-4 or a 4-3, which we're doing the 4-3 now. Something that I think control those pit bulls, and I think that spot is going to be something that he can come in and take an instant impact there in the middle.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that's not bad at all. That linebacker is obviously where I was looking to go as well. I just, I didn't know if that's a spot that maybe you reach for Dylan Moses, but he looks like you could probably get him in the third round. So I didn't want to reach there. The other linebacker that's there, possibly that I keep falling into, is Chaz Surratt from North Carolina. But he came in, he came into North Carolina to play quarterback, and so credit to him for switching positions and becoming possibly a top, a second day pick in the NFL draft. But if I'm going to take a linebacker to anchor down that defense, I want a guy that's a linebacker. You know what I mean? So I was flipping back and forth there. That was one of my, questions. Another one was, if we don't take a tackle in the first round, maybe Jalen Mayfield slides to us out of Michigan to that second round. Doesn't look like that would happen. So what I've landed on here is Greg Newsome, corner out of Northwestern. Tall, lanky guy, 6'1", 190. He's a junior this year. He played, let's see, they said he looked like a different player from 2019 to 2020, which is obviously good. He only allowed 12 catches on 34 targets all year. And that's in the Big Ten. Big Ten, they have some pretty good teams. Obviously, Northwestern had a very good defense. They held Ohio State in check for most of their game. They look like that they might beat Ohio State this year. So that's a guy that's comes from a smaller school, not your traditional powerhouses, but again, has some length, which I think that's more so what we're going to be seeing corners do, or corners be like. Richard Sherman was kind of like that first kind of big corner, and not just, those 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" quick guys. Finally some guys that are going to have a little bit of size. Ronald Darby being a free agent, I don't know if we bring him back. And I think we've agreed that those corner spots need some help. And he's a guy that can come in. He can start in, as that number 2 corner, maybe drop him into the slot. Who knows? But Greg Newsome is going to be my pick right now, just because I almost wouldn't mind trading out of this pick. But we would, if we were going to trade out, I'd want to make a jump into that 33 to 40 range. But if not, then I'd rather drop back, quite a bit. Maybe we'll see if we can pick up an early round pick next year instead of picking up maybe like a third and a fourth this year. I'd maybe rather grab like a third this year, which would give us 3 third-round picks, and then maybe a second next year, something like that. Something of the feeling of where we would get an early pick next year. But a lot of spots they have Greg Newsome ranked, in the top 60, somewhere anywhere from that 45 to 60 range. And so I think maybe it's a little bit of a reach at 51, but based on needs and not value, I think that's a guy that would give us a good look. So that's what I'm going with, Greg Newsome, corner out of Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I mean, we know that the corners are. I mean, when it comes to being able to, you want someone, like you said, is improving, is stepping their game up each and every year. And in the games, so many games. I can think about the Arizona game when our corner play was horrendous, and we're decided by corner play. And Ronald Darby is not going to be that guy. He's not going to
Yeah.
be that guy. If we don't find it in free agency, I think we do go high after a cornerback, and we do need somebody that can come in and step in and make a difference day one, whether it be stepping up as number 2 or in the slot. So I'm not mad at that at all. I do like my corners to be a little bit taller, I should say, but a little bit more physical. But what did you say he was 5'11"?
No, 6'1".
Oh, never mind that. Then I don't know. I don't know why I even thought 5'11". I don't even know where that number came from. Well, hey, even better than that. That's my only knock there. So hey, if he's available and we don't get, I did say Baron Brown. I mean, that's a reach. A lot of them have him ranked. I think he was in 40, 45. So if he slides to us, I think it's a no-brainer. If we have that pick still, we have a linebacker. But if he's gone by some reason, by all means, we need to look in that secondary. One thing you brought up as well, though, is what I was doing before we started this mock draft process was I was trading this pick away because there was not a lot that we needed that kept falling in the area. A lot of these guards and centers, I think, and it was I think running backs. I forget what it was, but it was just the things we needed. Tight ends, like we're talking corners, linebackers. There wasn't a good crop right there here in this range. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if to me, what it shows me even more though is that we should be able to come off this pick if we want to get some player very easily, because there's not going to be a lot of things there that I think is going to impact our team. So anything we go after in free agency, I think this second round draft pick could be a great bargaining tool.
Yeah, no, I agree. And see, this is what's so crazy and so tough about the draft is because obviously it's a lot of times you're not picking blindly, but you're taking a shot on guys. But you can read and see so many different things. And like I said, most of the stuff that I've seen is we might be able to get a guy like Dylan Moses. I don't hate that Baron Browning pick at all. But some spots have this Dylan, because Dylan Moses is probably my first pick outside of Micah Parsons. I did do a mock draft earlier today where we were able to get Micah Parsons, which was crazy. I don't know how that happened, but it did, and so I took him. But I don't see that happening in real life. So Dylan Moses is my second pick behind Micah Parsons. But a lot of stuff I've read, a lot of stuff I've seen is we might be able to get him with that third round pick we have. So if we're able to do that, that's when I'd like to get him. If not, then snatch him up right at 51. So it's like I said, this is the tough thing. There's a website, Tankathon, who they have the NBA, NHL, NFL, all the sports, and it shows you real time who the worst teams are, and it has their big board and everything. It started off with just the NBA of tanking for the first round pick and who had the best chances of getting that first round pick and who would they take. But then it's kind of expanded into an actual draft thing. And they actually have Dylan Moses going 51st. And so when I saw that, I was like, well, shit, maybe we can get him there. But like I said, I've seen so much stuff that he might be slipping into that third round that I'd rather wait. And just a little look ahead. This isn't the only corner I have us taking in this draft. So we might address that secondary more than just once, in my opinion, coming up after Greg Newsome. But again, it's so crazy. This is, again, the fun of the speculation, just not knowing. But for right now, like I said, we both reserve the right to change it later. That's going to be my pick. But again, I like that Baron Browning pick. I think we obviously identify that linebacker spot is somewhere we should address early if we can, but also want to make sure that we get a guy that's can get it done and can be an anchor, like you said, like some of these bigger dudes that we've seen.
Yes, I mean it's again, we just don't want anybody. We want the right person and someone I think that's something that we've never really had. I mean, I can think back to Wilbur Marshall, as far as I can think, as far as somebody in the middle that was just a wreck. I'm talking about size aspect. We had London Fletcher, who's but he's what 5'9", 5'10", I think 5'10", standing on his toes. But we need one of those big physical. I think it comes down to
LeVar Arrington.
LeVar Arrington. You need these guys that can cover tight ends, that can hit tight ends, and that can put their hands up and knock these balls down. I mean, how many times I've seen balls go that much over our linebackers' heads. And once you have these, a line like that, and you have a big linebacker right there behind it, that defense just becomes so much more ferocious. And pairing Browning back up at Ohio State with Chase Young, we might have an Ohio State Alabama defense. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's the other thing too about Dylan Moses. Coming out of Alabama, like they know how to play defense there. We've seen it firsthand. And the only drawback to that is, we saw, again, this is kind of just off the cuff. I forget who it was. It might have been Jay Gruden saying that a lot of the obsession with drafting Alabama players came from Daniel Snyder. So maybe they're trying to like go away from that, but it's like maybe this isn't just the time to go away from that just yet, because this guy could be somebody. But again, I mean, we used to joke about this way back in the first edition of this podcast of why don't we just draft everybody from Alabama? We ended up doing that. This was before the Deron Payne, before the Jonathan Allen. Like, this was before that. Why don't we just draft everybody from Alabama? Now it looks like we're just going to draft everybody from Ohio State. I think you'll be okay by doing that. You draft these big time guys coming out of big time schools that have played in big time games. More often than not, you're going to get some big time performers. So, I don't think that's a terrible strategy to use.
Yeah, and the guys that are used to winning. You know,
Yeah.
and that's more than anything. You're establishing a culture of winners. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of these times you're getting these guys from these other schools that don't really have a lot of success in college, and they're more just trying to get out of there, trying to get onto one of those teams, and they have all these individual stats. But now you have teams that are used to playing team ball to win team games. And I think that when you establish those types of cultures that we know Ohio State and Alabama has, their names are always in the top 4. It seems like at the end of the year, especially in recent years. Why would you not go after those players? I mean, it would just be stupid, in my opinion, not to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, agreed. So yeah, that'll do it for us here on the second round mock draft. Do you have anything else you want to add before we jump out of here?
No, I think this is good. I like how we're slowing it down. Someone would speed right through this process, but as you said, things change so fast, and it's good to slow down and really look in and see who we can really piece this thing together. And it fills a good gap here between the official beginning of the season too. So good job,
No
job.
doubt.
Yay,
No
us.
doubt. Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and pat ourselves on the back real quick. Yeah, I mean, shoot, come Monday, we'll see what happens over the weekend. Maybe it changes again, right? Who knows?
Exactly.
One quick note.
Exactly. We could trade away all our picks, and then this whole show is defunct.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, now what do we talk about, guys?
Oh, who are we gonna take in the 4th? Let's just think.
But one quick note I meant to mention at the beginning of the show, when we're talking about the Alex Smith and the quarterback saga, Russell Wilson, comes out yesterday and says, "Hey, I don't want to trade, but if I do, I want these 4 teams." And it was the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Bears. Which was a 4 kind of weird dynamic of teams. The Bears, I think, obviously because they have the good defense, but they might not have anybody to throw to. He might not have anybody to throw to if Allen Robinson leaves. The Saints, obviously strange because Drew Brees is coming back. But I think if you're the Saints, you definitely make that move. You take Russell Wilson and say, "Hey, sorry, Drew. Thanks for all the time, but we're going to go try to win."
Exactly. You drew the wild card.
Yeah. The Raiders, again, that's another strange one. I don't know what he sees there. Obviously, a good running game with Josh Jacobs. Yeah,
Coach.
John Gruden maybe there. Maybe back when he was at Gruden's quarterback camp. Back in the ESPN
Vegas
days.
coach. He's...
Yeah.
His wife is like, we going to Vegas. We going to Vegas, buddy.
Yeah, right. She could get a residency there. He can play football there. They'd be all set up. And then the Cowboys, obviously, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, for most guys, you'd love to play for the Cowboys. Growing up, that was always one of the teams that you probably watched. I mean, not me personally, but I would want.
I watched them to lose.
Yeah, exactly. But
to root for the other team.
But he's looking at it. They got all the weapons, but he would be going from a team with a bad offensive line to a different team with a bad offensive line. So don't really know there. But, Russell Wilson's his own guy. So obviously Washington doesn't make the short list of another guy that we would like. That's Deshaun Watson and now Russell Wilson. So maybe Sam Darnold, that big-headed mono having fool, is going to be our guy for the future. Who knows? Or maybe the guy's not even. Maybe
he ain't gonna see no ghosts out here, man. He's gonna see the real monster, and that's Chase Young. So come on out of here, Sam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right on. Well, that'll do it for us today. Again, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube if that's where you're watching us. Ring that notification bell. If not, and you're listening to us on podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed, rate, review. So as soon as we drop this episode, it downloads right to your phone, downloads right into that playlist. Put it on autoplay. So as soon as you plug in that phone, bang, we are in your ears. Have a great weekend, everybody. Joey, hopefully you get that chocolate milk soon.
Hey,
I know.
What? One more thing real quick. I just found this out this morning. I had to say it. Macklemore was on Good Morning Football this morning.
Oh,
Macklemore, big Seattle fan. And they brought up this Russell Wilson thing. And he talked about it. He just said he blah blah blah. He does not see it happening, but he understands this is a business. Same answer everybody's giving. The one thing though that I wanted to share is, do you know they gave Macklemore a Super Bowl ring?
Oh, that's unreal. Why?
Because he's Macklemore. I don't know. It's just because they asked him because they're going over. Oh, we heard you had a very extensive. You're a big fan. You've had like a memorabilia collection. He's like, what's your prized possession? And he's like, I'm gonna flex a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, my Super Bowl ring. And I was like, what? He's like, an actual Super Bowl ring.
That's crazy.
What? He's all not the guy. They gave me the second tier, which is like the staff, the organization. They don't get the play. They have the player ring, and they're just still blown away. He's like, and I begged. He's all, I got to Richard Sherman, talked to Earl Thomas, talked to Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. They all pleaded to get me a player one, but I just settled for the second tier one. I was like,
that's crazy. Didn't you kind of know Macklemore before he became like Macklemore?
Yes. Well, definitely independent rappers, come through Austin all the time, and a lot of his buddies are being out of Seattle and out of Portland. Those Northwest guys would come through down every South by Southwest, and Dr. Macklemore. Before they just drop the doctor, obviously, when people get a hold of you and they change your name. So that's what
his name was Dr. Macklemore.
Yeah, Dr. Macklemore.
That is whack. Oh man, what a loser.
So look it up, Google it, everyone. Dr. Macklemore. Cool guy, super nice guy. I've never had anyone say something bad about him. That's ever had to deal with him. I have a buddy who actually DJ'd with him and went on his first big world tour, and that he's the nicest guy in the world. Would do anything, give your shirt off his back. So
okay, that's good. Well, then I feel bad for calling him a loser. Sorry, but I mean, Dr. Macklemore, come on.
Yeah. Hey, my first rap name was the Alpha Male, man. I had to change that up a little bit.
I remember. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, a little flexy, but
that's awesome. All right, well now that'll do it for us for real. All that same stuff I said about YouTube and podcasts, make sure you do it. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys then.